Welcome to the Intentional Creator Workshop. I'm Andre. If you are completely new in here, if you don't know, like if you've never been in a webinar that I've done by now, you should know I truly believe in giving everything away, and you will see this like from this session. Now, this is our today's promise in here. You guys will actually feel inspired because I believe we as creators, we definitely need to feel inspired for achieving whatever we want to achieve. You guys are going to feel seen, and you will actually believe that your dream life and whatever you want to build in your life is actually possible, because it is. And I'm usually that guy that believes in you in some shape or form, like sometimes more than you believe in yourself, because I think we sometimes we need people as that. You will feel calm with getting the actual full clarity for who you want to be and the actual business that you want to build. You will learn why your content isn't converting and simple steps to actually fix it, because again, we all go through it as creators. You will get a nervous system safe action plan to feel safe actually charging what you're worth. It's exactly what you were talking about in here, Zan. Hopefully, I'm not mispronouncing your name, but yeah. You will walk away with a clear, aligned offer and brand structure. So, again, even if you're in the beginning stages, I will essentially give you the structure and the plan to package all of your information and all of your knowledge into a really premium offer. So this works both for like advanced people with like their brand that is already growing, and also for the beginning stages. And if you do feel aligned by the end to continue working together, I do have an invitation for those of you who will, and I'm going to invite you to your next steps. Cool. So our flow for today is going to be somewhere around like 90 minutes. I'm going to try and stay around like the 60, 70 minutes mark. Some of you might know, like, I love to talk a lot, but I'm definitely not trying to keep you guys here for 3 hours. But here's the flow. The first part is going to be identity and nervous system reset. The second part is going to be intentionally designing your business. And the third part is going to be the actual offer and brand architecture. So that is the strategy and technical part. This is the foundational mindset stuff that I really want to touch on, because as I said previously, a lot of these gurus are only going to scream at you about VSLs and funnels. They will never talk about this stuff, but this is essential. Cool. So here's a bit about me. If you're absolutely new here and new to like everything that I'm doing, I'm that rebel creative kid. I was always like that. I was a recording artist before building multiple businesses. So my life has been an entrepreneurial roller coaster, to say the least. And I'm now building premium brands with amazing people all around the world. And just as a small random fact, I thought like it's essential to add this in. I'm way too addicted to pepperoni pizza. This is just something super personal for me, so you guys can understand where I'm coming from. If you guys like the weird exotic stuff on pizza, feel free to fight me on it. But I believe the pepperoni is the classic, and I'm probably the most ADHD music listener you've ever met. So I'm that guy that might listen to some blues, and then I might play some dance music and then some rap music. I literally like I listen to the most random stuff ever. And here on the left is just the that rebel creative kid that I was talking about. Cool. So I want to first touch on why I do what I do, because I truly believe it's important to offer this perspective. So I do this because, guys, I literally made every single mistake in the book, right? And I'm trying to help you as much as I can avoid that pain, right? Avoid as much of those mistakes as you possibly can, and simply win faster. And by the way, as I go, you guys like feel free to type whatever in the chat, whatever questions. This is obviously like gonna be a conversation. I don't want to just like go through the slides without, I'm constantly looking at the chat. But long story short, guys, when my brand took off in early 2024, I was charging $97, so 97 bucks. And even then, I literally felt guilty for making money. Now, I was making money, plenty of money before. I was making six figures in ecom, but I stopped that because I truly didn't resonate with that business model. But then when I stepped into growing my personal brand, and this, you guys might relate to this, I actually felt, in a weird way, I felt guilty for essentially charging people, right, for my services, which is crazy to think, right? And deep down, even in, especially in that stage, I didn't feel safe charging more. I didn't feel safe charging like high prices. I was thinking $97 is a lot of money, right? And I constantly compare myself to others, thinking I wasn't good enough. I was in that whole mode of like, what is everybody doing in the market? Let me compare myself to all of them. And you know how it gets. Like, I want you to be honest in the chat if you sometimes like go through that, or if you've been through that, like the overthinking, like, look at this guy, look at that guy, I'm not doing enough, all of this like self-imposed urgency chaos, right? I went through that so much, for like so much, that yeah, that was like really really insane for me. So yeah, same here. Cool. So you guys understand where I'm coming from, right? And long story short, I was so overwhelmed and burned out because I didn't have a clear structure for my offering content. So I literally, when I was charging $97, I was going through the most random hoops. I was testing the most random offers left and right because I didn't have a clear offer. I didn't have like a clear structure and a clear plan. And when that is happening, right? Like, we as creators, we just tend to just go down this like overwhelmed spiral. We overthink, we burn out, and we go through so many different negative emotions that is getting like, that is making it super difficult for us to actually be authentic and show up and actually post content and be consistent. And yeah, the guilt is overwhelming. Yeah, I completely relate, right? So basically, um what you will learn today, having said all of that, will get you real results. I just want to highlight the fact that this webinar workshop is not going to be a woo woo manifest your dream life bullshit, just sit on the couch and just manifest, right? Because we all know this sort of like niche right now is super popping with, let's manifest, right? This is not that. We will work on some mindset things that are foundational and essential for building your brand, but this actually gets real results. And just to quickly show you some of the people that are amazing people that I work with in Unlock Creators, these are some awesome wins that we're getting. So for example, Davian and Rose, I work with them for their agency. They literally completely transformed their agency model, and they sold $15,000 offers and signed 8-figure clients. Now, you cannot do that unless you fix the mindset, obviously, and the identity side of things first. Zahib, for example, Zahib is absolutely amazing. He's helping Muslims build agencies, and he just got like 11,000 cash collected in like 4.5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, as we're preparing to scale to 20K a month. And this is, by the way, without any sales calls. It's the same thing. We work on the mindset, we work on the identity, and we get super clear on what is the actual brand that we're trying to build, and we build it in a premium way, and it gets results. Sammy as well. Like, Sammy's in the Spanish market. She's absolutely amazing. I met her in London in back in 2024 in around October, and she built one of the best brands in the Spanish market. So she's selling high ticket coaching for Spanish creators that are looking to scale. She completely sold out when we did her first launch with almost like 1,000 people joining like a live event, which was absolutely wild. Georgie, for example, getting 12 clients within 10 days of launching as an empathy coach for 7 figures entrepreneurs. So what I want to highlight with this is that it's not any woo woo like woo-woo stuff, right? These are actual results, but the way to get these results is to fix the mind, right? And I'm gonna obviously unpack all of this throughout the workshop, but I just wanted to highlight this. Now, I want to ask you guys, aside from the strategies and systems, what do you think is the common factor for these people getting the success? Because obviously strategies and systems are, an important part of it. But Zen, for example, is saying mindset. Yeah, so mindset is that's a good answer. Mindset is a really like big umbrella term. What we have in here is something deeper. It's alignment, right? So it's essentially you aligning your inner values, the things that you believe in, right, with the external actions that you do, with the external, meaning like whatever you post, whatever you create, And that is leading to clarity. And when you have this alignment, building a brand, charging a lot of money, working with amazing people becomes effortless. And that is my goal for this workshop, to make it effortless for you guys. Now, the thing is, gurus, as I said, scream about funnels, VSLs, ads, and all of this. But the thing is, and I believe me, I learned this in the hardest possible way. If you're not in the right place internally, your business will come crashing down. It doesn't matter how many strategies you apply, it doesn't matter how many ads you're running. If you're internally, if you're not in the right place, if you're self sabotaging, if you feel that guilt, like Zan was saying, everything is gonna feel super heavy. So here's what misalignments can actually feel like. Everything again feels forced. You know what you need to do, but you constantly procrastinate. So, for example, if you guys are kind of like more in the beginning stages of building a brand, you might not be 100% aligned with what you're doing. You might try to copy someone else. And therefore, you know that you got to post content, but like you constantly procrastinate, right? And you might be afraid of selling. This happened to me as well. When we're misaligned internally, when we're not in the right place, we're actually afraid, right, of selling, of charging people. You feel stress and anxiety every single time you post. So these are just a couple of those symptoms that can happen when you operate from misalignment. Now, in general, there are two types of creators, especially in this current market. There are the people that do performance marketing, and I fell into this trap as well. I got to call myself out on the bullshit, right? Performance marketing and then cult brand building. And let me just unpack this for a bit. Performance marketing is all about external stuff. So you're literally like you're on a stage and you're performing for people. It's a bit inauthentic, and it's all about short-term gain and short-term value. It's like you're trying to provide some quick tips and tricks and trying to quote unquote like try and convince people or force people to buy your offer, whatever, just to make some short-term, money and monetary gain, which is absolutely fine, right? But that is short term. The long term is the internal actual work, you discovering who you are, you showing up as yourself in an authentic way, and therefore building a magnetic brand. That I put in here, magnetic. This is not only is not magnetic, but it tends to be inauthentic, right? And so my goal is to help you transition from, a side of this, because we all go through this, like trying to perform, to this idea of let's actually build a premium brand that stands for something and that is magnetic to the right people, right? So together today, we'll get you the right answers to these sort of questions, which I believe are the most important questions to ask. First, what do I actually want to do? Who do I need to become to be able to do that, to achieve my goals? Then, how can I feel safe making more money as a creator, as a business owner? How can I design my dream business? Because a lot of people just, design random businesses, and then that business ends up, putting the golden handcuffs on them, and then they essentially like they struggle to live out their dream life. And then last but not least, how do I create a brand and offer that I truly feel aligned with? So I don't need to force stuff. I don't need to like feel weird charging people, right? So these are the most important questions. Now, I want to highlight this before we continue. You guys are, I believe this, you're exactly where you need to be, right? It doesn't matter if you're in the beginning stages. It doesn't matter if you're more advanced, but you might be feeling stuck. I truly believe that this moment in time, you're exactly where you need to be. Okay? You are exactly where you need to be. You're here in this webinar. We don't have a lot of people. It's just us. It's kind of like intimate. And I want you to type in the chat if you truly believe in this or not. Let's have a like quick think about this. I truly believe that you're here for a reason, and whatever happens to that point, I know life sometimes gets hectic and stuff, but regardless of the struggle, regardless of the bottlenecks in the business in your life, let's drop the sort of like panic and urgency, like, oh my God, I have to do this. You don't have to panic. You don't have to do anything. Okay. You're in the right place for now. And this is the moment in which we're going to unlock a lot of things mentally, on a mental level, right? Do you guys believe in that? Let me know in the chat. Because I don't want to be the only one that like seems to believe in that. But yeah. And the thing is this. Awesome. So I want you to picture this for a minute. Let's just visualize this. You're making, let's say you're making 5 to 6 figures, even 7 figures a month. It doesn't really matter. You're making unlimited money, right? You have complete freedom. You have your dream life, right? I want you to really think, how does it feel? How does that feel? You don't have to type it in the chat. Just do that by yourself, with yourself, right? How does it feel? Do you feel calm? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like everything is possible? Do you feel like the abundance? Do you feel the unlimited possibilities? Do you feel like you wake up and life is literally like a video game? Hopefully you do, right? Now I want you to, throughout this session, throughout this webinar, hold on to that thought, hold on to that feeling of like everything is possible and life is just amazing. Let's remove any sort of, money is not an issue. Money doesn't represent like a threat. Everything is unlimited and we have complete freedom. And let's focus on that because that is going to be the foundation for what we're building. Because if I'm honest, the number one thing and the number one hack that you can have as a creator, as a business owner, is having high energy, having that sort of magnetic energy that in which you literally believe like every single thing is possible. You're feeling like you're on cloud nine. You're feeling like nothing can stop you. And the way to do that is to, if there's something in your life currently that you don't necessarily enjoy seeing in your current reality, take your focus off of that and just focus on this state. I have everything that I want. How does that feel? Okay. And try to stay there. Now, the first thing of this, the first big part of this webinar is going to be unlocking the new you, as I like to call it. So the goal for this is to shift your identity from your current self, who you are right now, to your desired self, to that, let's say, 2.0 version of yourself, and actually regulate your nervous system to be able to sustain the success and the business that you're trying to build. Okay. The thing is, you cannot create a magnetic brand from the outside in. And again, I learned all of this that I'm saying is like I learned the hard way. That's why I can talk about it for hours. It starts by getting clear on why you do what you do. And I suggest let's begin with something that a lot of you might be familiar with. If you're not, it's fine. Let's begin with your purpose, then build everything else around it. Okay. So we're going to use the Ikigai exercise for the first thing. Now, if you're not familiar with Ikigai, this is a Japanese concept that is basically all about your reason for being. And it's found at the intersection of the things that you love, the things that you're good at, the things that you can be paid for, and the things that you think the world needs, right? And in the middle of all of this craziness, this is your purpose in here. Now, I brought this up because this is a foundational stuff. Like, unless we are clear on what is actually like, what is my actual calling, we're gonna just like float around in life and it's gonna be super weird. So, as a small exercise, again, you don't necessarily have to take all of the time right now. You can do this in private. Ask yourself this: what do I actually love, right? And if you've never done this exercise before, trust me, it's a really useful one. What do I love, right? What really energizes me? What could I do for hours even if no one paid me? Then what am I good at? Right? What are my skills? What are my talents? What are my natural gifts? What do in general people praise me for? Then what does the world actually need right now? What problems do I feel called to help solve in this world? There are a lot of them, right? What can I get paid for? Okay, so ways I've made money before, some industry needs, things that people invest in. And once you make a list of all of this, if you have some ideas right now, feel free to drop them in the chat. But in the middle of all of this, and I'm going to give you my own example for my own Ikigai, that is your purpose. Okay, so in my own case, for example, my own Ikigai is helping people believe in themselves and achieve freedom by turning their knowledge into aligned brands. Now, it took me a very long time to finally come to this realization. But as an example, for me, the things that I love, creating brands, design, art, technology, entrepreneurship, business, traveling. What am I good at? I'm I think I'm pretty good at design, sales, marketing, writing, communication. What does the world needs? Human connection. I truly believe we need human connection. We need community. We need technology. we need financial freedom, we need personalized education. This is very good because we live in a world where, especially now with AI, having the ability to personalize the way you learn is huge. Then the things that I can be paid for and that I was paid for in the past, helping people create their online education businesses, scaling brands. Um, there we go. Scaling brands, creating digital experiences. And at the intersection of all of this, for me, this is my ikigai. This is essentially my purpose. Okay. So you can do this exercise. You can like basically type some ideas right now or like questions if you have them, but this is really going to give you some external clarity and even internal clarity in terms of, okay, this is actually in the middle of everything that I've been doing. Because your job, for example, if you have a corporate job, your job might not necessarily be your purpose. And that is fine. But I believe it's in our duty, especially if you want to build an amazing brand and business, that business and that brand has to be connected with your purpose. Because otherwise, it's going to be hard to sustain, right? Now, let's get some more clarity. Once you have your ikigai, also your north star. So this is like my sort of like my big goal. This is my purpose. Let's define your dream state. And this is like what we did previously before with the just picturing your your freedom. This could be something like I'm making 50K per month, and this is obviously subjective to everyone. I'm making this amount of money per month. I live in Singapore. I don't know. I work with clients in the health industry. I drive a white AMG. Get super specific. And again, this isn't a manifestation thing, like just sit on the couch and just let's manifest. But this is you connecting yourself to that dream state so you can start to actually embody that identity. And we're going to unpack this as I go. Okay. So this give me some, if you guys are still here, give me, because again I want this to be a let's bounce some ideas back and forth. Give me some like dream state. Is it like give me an amount of money you want to make per month? Where do you guys want to live? You guys mentioned you're in Dubai, for example. Would you ever want to move? Is that the place that you want to really be in, right? What brand are you trying to build? Like what is, give me like an idea for like the dream sort of state, because this is, again, this is super important for clarity. The more we connect to this, then the just the easier everything becomes in terms of actually building the infrastructure. So I'm going to take a couple of seconds here. Any sort of volunteers? Zen, you were kind of like active. Let me know if you have like a dream state, something, and it doesn't need to be something like super personal to you, or it can be if you choose so, but can you guys still hear me? Okay, awesome. Okay, let's be active in the chat. Come on, don't be shy. I'm not gonna bite. Type anything that you have in your mind. It could be the wildest dream. I'm not gonna judge. Believe me. So my business makes 200,000 dirham per month. That is really good. I live in Dubai. I work with clients in the health and wellness industry. I drive a white IS 350F. That is amazing. This is amazing. Okay. So, oh, this is where you live right now. That's the thing. It's like try to describe your dream state. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying, is like write the actual dream state as if you already are living it, right? So I'm making 2 million per month, let's say. I live there. So describe your dream state as if you're already are living that. So we got 100,000 per month cash. I would love to have my own makeup brand. So see, that's the thing. It worked. Okay, so let's spark the conversation because this is what I'm into. When you say that, and I'm only saying this because I went through it again. I'm not trying to like preach at you, but when you say that, just describe it to yourself like I already own a makeup brand that it's making this much amount of money, and I have these opportunities with these clients, these partnerships. Describe it as if you're already in the present moment, and it's if it's already here. right? This is called like living in the ends. So you actually literally brainwash yourself into thinking, I'm already there. And this is going to make sense as we go through it. Okay. So if you have more sort of like suggestions in here and ideas, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I just want to continue with this. So now think to yourself, since you map these out, right? And again, for the shy ones that haven't, just keep that to yourself. But think, what is that version of myself like? Okay, that version that is making, for example, 100,000 per month in cash. What is that version of myself like? What is the identity that I need to embody to be able to do these things and have all of that? Because it's this concept of be, do, have, right? A lot of people preach you got to work like crazy, you got to grind, and then you're going to have things. But in reality, again, I'm saying this from experience, is like you can post 3,000 reels per day and you can try every single strategy. But if you internally, if your identity is not in the right place, all of that is for nothing. Okay. All of that is going to be for nothing. So, what is that version of yourself like? We got some more in here. So, I help people along the way with charities. I make 500,000 dirhams a month. I live in Dubai. I work with family businesses. Okay, G-Wagon. See, we're going somewhere. Nice. Okay, nice. Awesome. And the more specific you are with these things, the better. Because let me tell you something, every single highly successful person that I'm talking to, all of my mentors, every single person is super specific with their goals. Nobody's vague. Nobody's like, yeah, I would wish to make 20,000 a month. Nobody's like, that's the, if you say like, oh, I wish, that's a vague thing. You got to be like super, super specific. Now, once you have that identity in your mind in a general sort of way, right? Here's the truth. The truth is, your current self is likely holding you back from achieving all of this that you're thinking about. And this is what happens to all of us. Because here's how it works. You might tell yourself, oh, I want to finally launch my coaching program. This is just an example, right? But your current self thinks you're not good enough, so you keep delaying it, right? You might say you want to charge 5,000 for your offer, for example, but your current self doesn't feel safe doing so, so you drop your prices. And this is the constant tug and pull that we go through, because all of this is literally a constant like dance and like mostly battle between the current self, your current self, the one who you really need to let go of, and the new self, the one who you need to become to be able to achieve these goals. And we're getting into the deep waters here, and let me just unpack all of this. Because sometimes the biggest blocks in your business or creative journey aren't just strategic, they come from hidden parts of your identity, like your inner critic, like your imposter, or just overgiver, right? And the thing is, instead of ignoring or battling these voices that we all have, by the way, we'll use a powerful, basically, technique in here from Carl Jung called active imagination. And this is a way to have a real honest conversation with these inner parts of you so you can uncover basically their patterns, their wisdom, even, and integrate those beliefs into your identity. And this is where the real like deep inner work, which to some of you it might seem like counterintuitive, like, forget about this, I just want to like post, I just want to make money. Okay, that's cool, but this inner work again is foundational. Now here's the 4-stage active imagination process. You guys are obviously going to have the replay for this, but you don't have to do this right now. But here's how it goes. First, you have to invite that identity part. So instead of fighting that imposter, invite it into like a dialogue. So what does my inner critic want me to know? And I'm going to give you a tangible example. So if I'm, for example, talking to a potential client and I want to charge more money, but I have that voice inside of my head saying like, oh, I might not deserve this right now, or I might not be ready. Try to invite that part right into a conversation. Like, what does this inner critic that is telling me that I'm not good enough want me to know right now? The second thing is active dialogue. So engage consciously with this part. So ask, try to like literally, I know this to some of you, if you've never done this before, like it might seem like I'm talking some insane shit right now, but ask it like, what are you protecting me from? Right. So listen for actual responses from your unconscious, right? What are you trying to protect me from? Because all of this is a fear response. Whenever, especially when it comes to making more money, right? Sometimes making more money can make us feel like we're not safe, right? Then we have ethical integration. So you have to evaluate what this part actually offers. So if it's a part that sabotages you, that is that voice inside of your mind, right? That is not you, by the way. That is the saboteur, as we like to call it. That has like actual wisdom about your authentic values or boundaries. So what do I mean by that? If that part of you is trying to sabotage you whenever you're trying to have a conversation with a potential client, that might indicate that you are not willing to, let's say, impose some boundaries or actually charge what you're worth. And it's very important for you to connect to that part because there's a lot of things that you can learn from that. And then we have physical ritual in here. So this is all about creating a concrete action that honors both old and the new identity parts of yourself. So this could be a symbolic gesture that you do, or just a change of environment that anchors that entire integration. So what do I mean by this again? Whenever you're going through that, if you want to connect these parts and if you want to move more into the new identity part of you, you might want to move to a different environment. You might start to want to work on your content, for example, work on your business from a different place to be able to anchor your new identity to that new place. Sometimes the best thing that we can do is remove ourselves from the current environment that we're in and unlock a new sort of like mental model with a brand new environment. Hopefully this makes sense as a process in here. But this is the 4-stage activation imagination process. And the more you do this on a really, and you can journal this, but the more you do this, you're gonna find yourself like our mind is so messed up sometimes. Because literally what this is, that's why I said it's all about the dance between the old self and the new self. All of this, what it is, making 100,000 per month, scaling your business, scaling your brand, what it really is, it's a fight, it's you versus you, right? Nobody else is stopping you. There's no limitation. I want you to understand there's unlimited amount of clients and money and everything and opportunities. Everything is unlimited. The only thing that is stopping us, it's our minds, right? We literally self-sabotage. That is the thing. And the more aware we are of these different parts, the more we can essentially step into the new identity. Now, I want to share something personal here because I believe, again, it's super important. This is how I truly like let go once and for all, like of my old self. I did what I like to call like the burning ritual, and I got this from one of my friends. Um, what you do is, and this is again, this might seem super crazy, but I literally grabbed a piece of paper. I wrote down all of the fears and insecurities that my current identity was holding. So I don't know. This was, for example, like I'm afraid of, of charging a lot more money for what I offer. I'm afraid I might not be good enough. All of these like little bullshit in the mind, right? And then I literally burned that piece of paper and I genuinely believed it was gone, right? And now you have the chance when you do this, it literally tells your brain because you do this to make it like a seem like an actual ritual. And I know to some of you might seem weird, but you do this so that your eyes see that it's something in your reality changed, right? Like that old version of you who was afraid of charging money, who was afraid of investing in themselves to make more money, that version of yourself who was scared to talk to people, whatever it is, right? You delete that version, you burn that version. And I challenge you guys, to some of you who are, because there might be some of you who are genuinely in that place of like, I actually want to elevate my identity and I want to like, I want to just evolve. I want to grow, right? I have huge goals. You guys put some amazing goals in the chat in here. If you're in that place, right? If you're in that place, you might want to do this ritual. Okay. And I know, don't like it can seem crazy, but don't share this with people that don't really understand it. This is only for yourself, right? For your benefits. Now, another huge part in this is doing shadow work. And this is all about becoming your authentic self. So, when we're talking about building an authentic brand, right? Creating content and doing that in an actual fun way, in an effortless way, um, the thing we got to do is we got to integrate the dark parts of us into what we're doing. So let me just expand on this. And here we have the shadow self. This represents the parts, the dark parts, your dark parts, your, the things that you might be ashamed of, your insecurities, all of that. We all have this. And then on the right side, we have the persona. This is basically your mask to the world, right? Your shadow self tends to be the actual real you, real version of you. The persona is the mask, the is literally the act that you put on, right? Because we cannot be 1000% ourselves in public, right? Now, the thing that controls this persona and this gap is the ego, because it's trying to bridge that gap between this is who we are in the dark, right? And this is who we are to the rest of the world. Now, the thing is, with shadow work, the shorter you make this gap, so the shorter this gap is, the more you can show up as yourself in your content. And I'm going to walk you through some practical, again, I'm all about implementation, practical things that you can do to shorten this gap and integrate the dark parts of you, right? And again, the shorter this is, the more you can show up as yourself. Now, Zen is saying, I've tried this and it worked. I wrote a letter forgiving my parents for everything I thought they did, and I burnt it. Things have been great since then. So, see, that's the thing. It's also like you letting go of some things in the past. 1000% is 10%. You need 1000%. Yeah, sometimes you do. Cool. So, here's a practical thing. This is the business shadow mirror. So, oftentimes, especially if you guys are already creating content and if you're in a space that is hyper competitive, right? We have this tendency to compare ourselves to others. And the thing is, when we feel triggered by other creators' success or even pricing, how much they charge, whatever, this actually reveals disowned aspects of our own potential. And we can use these projections as identity integration opportunities. So, what do I mean by this? You got to ask yourself, what do I actually judge in other creators, right? You guys, I don't know, for example, you guys might have seen my content and you might have judged some parts. Okay, that's fine. But this represents some suppressed ambitions that you might have. What creator behaviors make me angry, right? So the thing with all of this, you got to be super honest with yourself, because otherwise this doesn't work. This is all about like disown assertiveness of or boundaries, right? So if you see some creator, this is an example. Some creator, let's say they're charging 20,000 for their offer, and all they're doing is like they're doing like they're selling a course and people are buying it and these guys are making a lot of money, right? And this makes you angry. You're like, what the fuck, right? Like, what? How do they make so much money while offering this little whatever? This might signal that you are trying to over deliver. You're trying to literally give everything because you think deep down you're not enough, and you cannot assert your boundaries. You cannot impose your boundaries. So it's very interesting. Another thing is, who do I admire but think I could never be? Right? So I'm sure everybody in here has some role models, even in the content space. This actually reveals what we call the golden shadow, which is untapped creative power. So look at the people that you truly admire. Look at like the big influencers. Look at, I don't know, look at actors, whatever, whoever is your role model, and think to yourself, what is that creative power that I think that I could never achieve? And again, the more you do this, I promise you a lot of things in your mind will unlock. Another thing is you can do a shadow business audit. So what do I mean by this? You identify some financial self-sabotage patterns. So for those of you guys who are already in business, as a business owner, you tend to go through this, especially in the early stages, or if you haven't really done the inner work and just focused on outside strategy. This is all about you deep down avoiding profits, right? Profit or loss statements. You don't want to look at the profit. You might be scared of making profit. You might undercharge, right? This is all about you literally self-sabotaging your business. And this is coming from insecurities, right? Relationship dynamics. So you might be attracting difficult clients, or you might have issues with setting clear boundaries. So I've been through that myself so many times in the past with my agency as well. When I had a creative agency, like I could not, for the life of me, I could not set clear boundaries. And all of the time the cycle would repeat, right? And I would have to ask myself, like, what the fuck is wrong? Why am I attracting super bad clients? Like, what is happening here? Right. And another thing is energy management. So, this is all about you identifying these cycles of burnout, these cycles of you trying to over give and over deliver and just, you know, just give every single thing and treat others with, put others on a pedestal and take care of every single person other than yourself. How many people, like, raise your hand, like, be honest in the chat. Have you gone through that? Because I know I have, right? So, Zen, there we go. Overgiving to toxic clients. Yeah. Because this happens when we're actually misaligned internally, and when we think deep down, like, oh, I don't deserve I don't deserve to, like, make a lot more money. I don't deserve to have an amazing life. And then you literally treat others, you put others on a pedestal, you try to people please, you try to make every single client happy, but you literally let everybody walk all over your limits, and you have no boundaries, you don't have anything, right? And again, the only reason I'm talking about this is because I've actually gone through it. I've lived it myself, okay? So, some shadow integration prompts or questions, if you rather, that you can ask yourself as a creator, especially: what part of my creative expression am I hiding from the world? Right? There might be there might be something that you're actually passionate about and you actually believe in, but you're subconsciously, like, you're hiding that from the world because you think, they might judge you. And again, what would I create if I wasn't afraid of judgment? What would you guys create? What would you guys be in your life right now if you would not care about what your family thinks, about what your old friends think, about what would you be? Who would you become? It's all about that identity, right? Who would you become if there would be zero judgment? If you wouldn't care about that? There's no limit, right? How does my helper identity prevent me from charging premium prices? That's another thing. So how does that identity that is just trying to overgive and overdeliver and do everything for everyone but yourself, how does that prevent you from actually charging a lot more money? And what creative desires, this is very interesting. What creatives desires do I judge as being too much or selfish, right? You might have some desires like I might want 300,000 a month. But if you deep down, if your shadow thinks we don't deserve that, that is too much, that is selfish, making money is bad, all of that internal dialogue, you're going to end up self sabotaging. That's just how it goes. Okay. So, I want to also touch on nervous system because for me to, like, quickly get personal here again, the number one thing that I've seen with my content and with my brand and now scaling and working with clients is the number one thing was my nervous system being chaotic. So internally, just me going through that, like, flight or fight response. And this is how your nervous system might actually respond to growth and visibility as you're scaling. So it's a couple of different response: freeze, flight, fight, and fawn. The freeze response shows up as a sort of like a blank mind paralysis. Like, this is when you literally, like, stare at your screen, right? You procrastinate, you're not able to start, you avoid posting, you might ghost DMs, you might miss deadlines, and you just have that mental fog, right? The flight response is you're constantly on the run. And I've been in this, like, most of my life. And I gotta be honest with you guys, like, this has been the culprit for most of my life, which I think I have mastered. So this is all when you over edit content, you hop between platforms looking for perfection, the best perfect thing. You start new projects, so the shiny object syndrome. You cannot focus on one single thing, and you might be compulsive. You might constantly check likes, analytics, numbers. You might be so obsessed with that because you're in this flight mode, right? Constant, like, flight mode. Now, the fight response. This drives you to push harder and get defensive. You double down on just publishing, chasing perfection. You sometimes over explain yourself to prove your worth, right? When you're talking to clients. And this is acting out of a need to win rather than actually connect with people, which is what we're supposed to do. Business, as one of my best mentors said, he's a multi-million dollar, like, multi-exit CEO. He told me, Andre, Every single thing in business is about people. It's all about people. It's not about numbers. It's all about people, right? Because we deal with human beings. And this is when you can like show up as, being like super triggered by feedback, being so emotional. This is the fight response. Now, the fawn response is essentially people pleasing in here, the last one. This is essentially making you soften your message, discount your offers, adapt your brand just to try and fit in with the market. You essentially try to avoid conflict and please every single person, every single potential client other than yourself. And you might say yes to things that aren't aligned with you. You might even like apologize for your work. You might just minimize your actual voice, right? And this is all to literally try and gain some approval and please people, right? So this is, I want you guys to like, if you're willing to share, have you gone through something like this personally? Like it can be in your business, in your private life. Like, have you gone through any of these responses? Because I know I have, for example, with again the freeze response, like constantly procrastinating, flights with constantly being in that mode. Like I gotta like, you know what I mean? I gotta over edit. I gotta like just, you know, do all of that. So Ender says definitely all of them different times. Yeah, exactly. And nobody, I think, as you know, especially in this market, everybody is all about chasing numbers and stuff, which is absolutely fine. But the thing is, if you don't take care of this stuff, I promise you, as soon as you start to make more money, your brain and your mind, your body will not feel safe, and everything will literally come crashing down. This is what I'm trying to help you avoid. Now, this is how I regulate personally my nervous system to make sure I operate from calm. This is again something super practical that you guys can take and implement. I literally block all of my apps on my phone every day to avoid doom scrolling, right? I block all of my apps. So from when I wake up from like 7 a.m., 6 a.m. actually, until 12:30 p.m., everything on my phone is blocked. So I don't allow myself to wake up and compare myself to others. The number one bad habit that almost literally ruined my life was just waking up and starting to compare myself to that guy who's over there, whatever he's making this amount of money, to this other guy. This is so bad for your brain. So I'm just blocking all of my apps. I do deep breathing exercises when I feel these triggers, like when I feel the panic, like, oh my God, I gotta like prove myself. I gotta like, I calm myself down with some deep, super simple breathing exercises. You can look them up like online, but these are just like super simple. Like you breathe in for 4 seconds, all of that. Like you breathe out for six, whatever works for you in terms of breathing. I highly recommend this because it calms down your body, right? And then I constantly think to myself, would this actually affect my 2.0 version of myself? So my desired identity? No, right? Because that identity, that version of myself is on a different level. And as long as I stay connected to that identity, I can defeat all of these bad things, excuse me, and triggers, right? Now, I want to give you again a practical nervous system regulation map that you can literally implement. So every single time that something happens, you notice like a trigger like that, try to identify the pattern, right? So notice which response is showing up in which, like, let's say you're posting content. Do I feel the freeze response, flight, fight, or fawn, right? And just label that without judgment, like don't judge it, right? And then just pause and sit with that for a bit, right? Just breathe and just feel that. And what are the sensations that you feel? You might feel tightness in your body. You might feel like agitated. You might feel like this urge to just like run or whatever. Just sit with that for a bit. The step three is then to choose like a matching sort of regulation tool, as I like to call it. So if you feel the freeze response, for example, try a gentle movement. Try to just like move. You can even do this is in NLP. You can rub your fingers like your thumb and stuff like this, just as a to anchor to calm down your mind, right? For flight, for example, slow down again with focused breath. For fight, release the tension by just yapping and venting creatively. This is something that for me, it does wonders. Just open up your phone and just record a voice memo and just yap about the things that you love. Just take your mind off of that fight response. For fawn, for example, recenter by doing a self compassion check in. So just check in with yourself and try to give yourself some compassion and try to really watch your internal language, because the way you talk to yourself is literally defining your entire life, right? And then step four, just check in. Overall, check in, see, has this actually shifted? Has the intensity shifted? Is it better? Is it worse? Try to do a check in. And so all I'm trying to do whenever you're operating in business, whenever you're having a conversation, whenever you're creating content, whenever you're in the process of signing a client, making money, right? Try to do this process. Identify, this is all about, guys, all about self awareness and identifying these patterns. And you literally, it's again, you versus you. This is all it is. Now, does this make sense so far? Because now we're jumping into the more business side of things with intentionally designing your business. Now that we kind of like understand more of this foundation of stepping into the new identity and integrating these things, because this part of the workshop is all about you setting clear boundaries and constraints for your business and building it to fuel your dream life. So let me know if this makes sense so far. Let me know if you guys have any questions. um I'm open to a dialogue, and again, do not be shy. I don't bite. I actually prefer having like an active dialogue, because even if you share like a wild, like, or you can fight me on like some ideas if you don't agree. Like, I'm open to any sort of like conversation. And if you guys don't have any questions, we're gonna move on. Cool. So the biggest mistake, let's talk about intentionality and actually designing a business that you love and not a business that it's trapping you. The biggest mistake that I made, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs make, is was trying to build someone else's business without having clear boundaries, right? um this happened until I said, fuck it. Like, just fuck it. And then I started to actually take the matter into my own hands and essentially define what are the actual boundaries that I gotta have for my business. Now, with this, you have to make a list for your business. You have to make a list of constraints, right? So this could be, for example, no sales calls. You don't want to take any sales calls. That is perfectly fine. No discounts. I don't want to drop any discounts. Boom. That is fine. No more than 5 hours a day of deep work. Cool. No working with people I'm not aligned with. Cool. So, again, this is literally all about protecting yourself, your energy. And what I'm seeing is, as creators, we tend to, look at like whatever's happening in the space, and we're like, oh, this guy's doing this, then that means I have to do that as well. That's absolutely wrong. For example, like the way I work with my clients, I literally ask them, what do you want to build, right? What do you like? Who do you want to be, first of all? What's your dream sort of life? And we literally build a business around that. We don't do the opposite way, right? But to do that, you got to get clear on what are the actual boundaries that I need to have for my business. Because I'm telling you, again, once you feel safe and aligned internally and you have these boundaries, your energy will be so much higher, and you will feel just better, right? Because you're not going to let everyone like walk all over you. You're not going to like, you're not going to go against your own belief system. And this is all about you getting clear with those limits. Another huge thing is you making sure you have your values aligned. So a lot of times you might be afraid of showing your true self in your business and content. So you end up sounding like someone you're not, right? And especially if you guys are, let's say, more in the beginning stages, or you're preparing to scale, you're preparing to hire people. This is very important. If we don't align our values with the things that we're actively building, it's going to be super chaotic, and you're going to end up attracting clients and opportunities that do not really align with the things that you believe in. And this is very dangerous. And the more clear you are on your values, the more magnetic your messaging will be. Okay, everybody's talking about magnetic personal brand, magnetic this, magnetic that. Okay, cool. But the real magnetic aspect comes from you being clear with your own values, because your brands, especially if you're building a personal brand, my personal brand, for example, is literally me. Okay. So as long as I'm clear with my values, then my personal brand has the clear values as well. Does that make sense? So if you believe in going against the wave, talk about it. Okay? Talk about it in your content. If you believe in charging what you're worth, talk about it in your content. And we can expand on this. If you believe, like, I don't know, Rolling Stones is the best fucking band in the world, talk about it. And, this applies to literally everything. If you believe, pineapple pizza, I was talking about pizza before. This is such a random example. But if you believe pineapple pizza is the best pizza in the world, talk about it. Because all of these little things and small values, these are the values that make you who you are, right? These are the values that make you who you are. And you have to actually integrate those into the brand and business that you're building, so that whenever you're communicating to potential clients, they actually know, okay, these are the things that this person is standing for. Okay. So this is, for example, Zahib. I just want to give like an actual relatable example. He hates sales calls. Okay. As a coach, he hates sales calls. So what we did, we literally built his business around the fact that he hates sales calls. So right now he's getting clients on without doing any sales calls. And we're headed to 20K a month. This is just an example. That goes to show, you don't need to, if you hate doing something, for example, if you hate doing Instagram shorts, Instagram reels, right? You don't need to do Instagram reels. You can do YouTube videos, you can do LinkedIn posts. Okay, you don't have to do something if you genuinely do not resonate with it, because that's where misalignment comes from. And that's the thing, I said it before, but I really want to iterate this. Most creators build their life around their business. Okay, they have their business and then they try to build a life around that. We do the exact opposite. We get clear on your dream life, the guys that, the stuff that you guys wrote in the chat, and we build the business around that to match that, not the other way around. Because I think the other way around is super counterintuitive, right? Now, once you went through that process with your identity, once you really like start to get clear on, this is the actual, these are the things, the values that I believe in, this is the identity, this is the version of myself that I'm trying to become. Now let's take care of the actual premium offer architecture. And this is the actual sort of like strategy, but also psychology and frameworks behind that. And again, it took me years to understand this. The goal with this is to package all of your knowledge. A lot of you guys in here, you're multidimensional, right? So it's not like you have one single skill and that's it. You might have a lot of different skills, a lot of different passions. You might have worked in different industries. The question is, how do I take all of that and how do I package all of that knowledge into a premium 5-figure high impact offer with a clear layout? And when I say 5-figure, I really mean like 5-figure. Okay, because you can charge 5-figure for your offer as long as you actually build it the right way, and I'm going to show you how. And inside of this chapter, we're going to talk about a couple of different key points. We're going to talk about offer positioning, and I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people are not even going to tell you, the difference between identity and outcome based offers. Okay, then we're going to talk about how you can speak to your ideal client. So the ICP, building the ideal client profile. This is all about magnetic messaging. Then how you can build a unique mechanism for your actual offer. Because again, our entire thinking is, let's go fucking premium. We're trying to build premium brands. We're not trying to build random brands. And then last but not least, obviously, how to actually price your offer. Because a lot of people, myself included in the past, I did not have a fucking clue in terms of how you can actually price, right, your offer. Now, for offer positioning, you guys got to understand there are two types of offers. And if you have questions with this, pop them in the chat, because we're going a bit like I want to say like geek mode in here. So nerd mode. There are two types of offers, okay? The first type is outcome based. So this sounds something like, I'm going to help you get 5 new leads a week. This is just an example. That's one type. The second type is identity based. So identity based is something like, I help you scale your business so you can become the best father you can be and spend more time with your family. Okay? So for example, I was talking about Zahib before. This guy is a father, and what I realized was for him the biggest needs wasn't necessarily making more money, it was him removing himself from the agency that he's still currently running and getting more time to spend with his family. So a lot of what you might want to do as a coach, as a mentor for people, when you have an offer, is to try and identify what is the identity that these guys, my clients, are trying to achieve, right? So outcome based and identity based. Hopefully that makes sense. And now, the thing is, in terms of positioning, if we're talking about premium offers and brands, pure outcome based offers are usually a commodity, okay? Because anyone can talk about numbers. So just to put it into perspective, if you're a fitness coach and you're telling people, I'm going to help you lose 10 pounds, right? Or whatever, 20 pounds in a matter of 6 weeks. How much money do you think you're going to be able to charge for that? Not a lot, because that is in the market treated like a commodity offer, because everybody can talk about numbers, right? The most premium transformation that you guys can offer is a mix between identity based offers and outcome based offers. And let me just expand on this a little bit more. Because again, nobody, like, this in and of itself is a huge masterclass. This slide right here. This is the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Okay. At the bottom, this is basically what us human beings need, from the bottom at the top. The bottom of the pyramid is physiological needs. So this is all about, like, when people are broke, right? When you're broke, like, you don't care about like anything. You just want to be able to just be able to eat, not be hungry, not freeze, not essentially not die, right? Then after that is safety. So we want to feel okay, we want to feel safe in an environment, we want to usually avoid conflict, right? This right here at the bottom, this is, for example, the content, the streamers and the content with pranks and stuff. This is why that content is that popular, because it appeals to these people at the bottom of the pyramid, the broke people that essentially just look for ways to escape their current situation, to escape their current life. It's just escapism, right? If you sell something like, I'm going to sell you this PDF that helps you with whatever, like, write more emails. I don't know. This is just a random example off the top of my mind. If you are willing to charge $5 for it or whatever, these are the people that you're going to attract. Okay. So you're not going to be able to charge a lot. Now, moving up the pyramid, we have social, self esteem, and self actualization. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that the more you go up the pyramids, at the very top, what is this? Self-esteem and self-actualization. Once our core needs are met as human beings, we're looking for something more. We're looking for status. We're looking for self-esteem. We're looking for self-actualization, meaning we want to genuinely become the most complete and authentic version of ourselves. Okay? So once you build an offer that appeals to these people right here in your markets, drop in the chat right now. I'm curious to see, what was your industry again? So you guys, like, if you work in the health industry and whatever, like, drop your industry, corporate. I want to see the different industries, because I want to explain this a little bit more. Because the thing is, if you work, for example, in the, okay, perfect, beauty. Okay, you work in the beauty industry, in the beauty niche. um you don't sell, you don't sell like a small, like, makeup tutorial, right? That is like, or course that is like $50. No, you sell a transformational program. Let's say you appeal to, I'm guessing, like, mostly women. You sell a premium program that helps women attract their ideal, their perfect husband, their perfect partner, or helps women elevate their career, helps women become the most incredible independent version of themselves. So you appeal to the self actualization. The amount of money, listen to me, the amount of money you can make in here is absolutely wild, because these people at the top, as opposed to the people at the bottom, they don't care about money, right? They don't mind spending $15,000. And just to put this into perspective, look at divorce lawyers, right? Or look at people that have these sort of like offers, like, I help executives overcome, like, divorces, or avoid, rather, divorces, right? Avoid divorce. These people can charge 20, 25,000, 30,000, because the needs in here is absolutely huge. And also the pain, right? because the pain at the top of the pyramid can be a different kind of pain, not this sort of like bottom level pain, but the pain in here can be, I don't feel respected. I'm a CEO, I'm an executive, but I don't feel respected. I don't have a brand. I don't feel respected, right? So the amount of money you can make in here is absolutely crazy. For example, we have Zen, high impact business, corporate films production. Okay, so high impact business and corporate films production. There are a lot of people right now that are just charging $20 for like, those packs with like LUTs and stuff and like with presets and shit. That is super basic. Okay, that is super basic. Why not make a program, for example, that is literally teaching professional, professional, like, let's say videographers, how to build their entire like brands and business so they can get amazing deals and work with huge companies, 8-figure, 9-figure contracts. And that is a transformational thing. That is like you sell the identity of that. And you don't charge $50, you don't charge $20, you charge 12,000, 15,000. Does that make sense? And I'm actually going to give you guys real examples from my clients as well, so you can understand what I'm talking about. We have in here drones to quantum coaching and teaching people to be healthy. And again, being healthy, the health niche is an amazing, like, that is an evergreen niche right now, and it's always been, but especially now. Okay, so you, with that, you don't, again, you try to appeal to the people at the top. You don't, the believe me, selling low ticket and selling like a low level sort of offer is is not, let's put it that way, it's just a headache. Okay, so this is for offer positioning. This is an example from one of my clients that I'm working with for his offer. His name is Martel, and he's in the masculinity sort of niche and mindsets. This is just like a small, like, sort of like a screenshot in here, but he's essentially building, we built an offer for him that appeals to men that are really in the executive sort of space. So they make a lot of money, but they don't necessarily feel respected when they walk into a room. They cannot attract their ideal partner, right? So their problem is not necessarily money, but their problem is, I don't feel respected, I feel invisible. Okay, and Martel, the way we built his offer and structure, we're charging like 10,000. We are charging 10,000. And the amount of, for example, we tested out, the first price that we tested out was 5K. Immediately he got 3 people in, that is 15,000. Why? Because we appeal to a different sort of pain. We appeal to this right here, self-actualization and self-esteem. We don't appeal to this. And it's all about how you, obviously, this is where branding comes into play and all of this. How do you actually brand this in a premium way that really appeals to this sort of pain? Now that we kind of covered that, and I'm going to slightly talk more about that as well, I really want to touch on this aspect. How do you actually speak to your ideal client? So, a really important thing that we have to do, and I do inside with my clients, is I built a sort of like soulmate client map, as I like to call it. So, I get super clear on what is the actual, what are the pain points and fears of that ideal client that you're trying to target? What do they struggle with? What are their possible objections? And this is advanced market research as well. What is the emotional triggers that they have? What keeps them awake at night? What makes them desperate for change? What is their ideal solution for them? What they're actually looking for? Who they are not? So what are some red flags that you got to look out for as the mentor? What is their current situation right now? What is their profession? Get super clear and super, like, almost nerdy on these aspects, because you want to make sure, okay, I understand what my ideal client is actually going through. Like, I understand everything about their current situation. The more you can describe the pain and the desired states to your ideal clients, the more money you're going to make. Okay. And so this is all, like, when you're creating content, I'm not going to sit here and give you guys like hooks ideas and stuff, right? But when you're creating content, you literally want to, specificity is a huge thing, because you want to talk about the things that you've been through as well, and the things that you know that your soulmate client is deep down going through. This is what Zahib is doing. This is what Martel is doing. For example, I was showing before, talking about the actual pain points of their clients. This is what I'm doing, right? I'm not talking about, like, I'm super specific with some really in-depth, like, specific things. that I know the people that I want to work with struggle with. And what happens then in the middle of that process when people see that, oh, like he actually gets me, right? Like he understands where I'm coming from, that's when they trust you. Because people don't care about you until they understand and until they know you care about them. Okay? So this is in terms of like speaking to that ideal clients. I could talk about like hours for this. We don't have the time necessarily right now, but I wanted to touch on this. Now, in terms of you building a premium brand, I do believe in the importance of this is essential to build a unique mechanism. So this is your signature sort of formula that you apply. This can apply to literally anything. Excuse me, in terms of like the coaching space, right? So I call this the three core phase signature formula, in which you have three phases for your process as a coach, as a mentor. And I'm going to give you guys more examples, including mine. And each of these phases has its own design transformation. So for me, for example, inside Unlock Creators, we have three specific phases that I walk every single person that I work with through, right? So we have offer genesis. In this phase, we build the identity side and we build the actual brand, the cult narrative, the origin story. We build out the structure for their brand and their offer. The leads engine is then the second phase in which we build the organic stuff. So we actually make sure we get leads in with Instagram, YouTube, all of these platforms. And then clients ascension is essentially getting people in, right? So these are three core phases. And just as another example for Martel, because I was talking about his example, with him, we built out this iconic already in the space. Everybody's like, what is this? Called like the golden signal, which is actually a transformational, his own proprietary transformational system that walks people through three phases that like literally every single client goes through this process. Now, obviously, every single client is going to be different, but you as the mentor, as the guy that or like girl that is building, right, the brand, you want to make sure you have a proprietary method so you don't go so you're not like super random, right? Because a lot of people when they sign people, when they sign clients, like they don't actually have a process, and that hurts the progress of both the the actual clients obviously and the actual coach. So you want to make sure you have something like this. And the way, again, the way you design it, as I said before, you pick what is the actual transformation that I got to walk people through, and you divide that into three sort of stages, and these are the three core phases, right? Another example from Zahib, one of my other clients, like again, he's appealing to Muslims, and he has essentially three core phases in here. He calls it like the 3M model that I worked with him on. This is his own journey that he's taking clients through with three specific phases that walk every single client, through that transformational journey. And again, this is how you stand out also in the market. If you're just talking about like, yeah, I'm just going to help you lose weight, or I'm just going to help you, like you mentioned like Katera in here, you mentioned like beauty, right? Like I'm going to help you with like, you got to have a really unique process that stands out. And again, going all the way back to identity, when you're actually aligned and when you feel safe and when you feel like you're on cloud nine and you can do anything, I promise you, especially when you have the right tools, you're going to build the best sort of like signature method for you. Okay. Now, the final thing, how can you actually price your premium offer, right? Because I know a lot of people struggle with this. The thing that I want to highlight here, guys, never price according to your current belief system or how you feel. Never do that. Okay. Never in a million years try to price according to how you feel about yourself, because that is 99.9% of the time wrong. As in, you constantly undervalue yourself and your services, because nobody really taught you how to price yourself, how to sell yourself, how to sell your services, how to believe in yourself. So you end up like literally undercharging or like picking a price out of thin air, and it's usually something like way below what you should really charge, right? You always want to price according to the value you provide for your clients. And I'm going to give you like an actual breakdown. Meaning, if you produce, so this applies to any niche, let's say the beauty niche. If you produce by proxy a transformation that then produces a monetary outcome on average of, let's say, 100,000 per year, right? So let's say if you're coaching someone on improving their looks and that leads to them getting a better job, a better career, and making more money by proxy, that is monetary outcome. That is monetary value, not only identity transformation, okay? So if you're producing 100,000 per year on average, this is just an example, charging 10% or 15% for that is a great price point. And that is how you also market, right? Because if you produce for someone 300,000, let's say on average, if you charge 500 bucks for it, then that is just, you know what I mean? That is just weird. That is just bad. So you want to always sit in this like 10-15% mark. And you want to identify what is on average. And obviously, like if you're already working with clients, this helps because you already know, right? The average. And like 10% out of that is what? 10K, right? Anything below 10% will put you in the low end market. And you don't want to be in this market. This is where everybody's desperate. Everybody's like trying to like just get people in and just charge as low as possible just to make money and stuff like that. You want to go premium. Believe me, you want to go premium, especially if you want to build something. I'm talking about like actually building something amazing. You want to go premium. And charging 10% out of the monetary outcome, that is how you price. So when you price your offers, you want to choose a clear timeline. So for example, this could be 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever the timeline for the transformation that you will produce, whatever you think that might be. You want to get clear phases with results, as I said before. So what are the actual phases? These are the phases that we go through, and this is what you're going to have, right? And you want to get clear on deliverables. So what are the actual one-on-one calls that you do? For example, if you're a mentor, what are the services that you provide? What are the actual things that you're going to provide? And the more clear you are with this, and the more confident you feel in your ability to actually deliver results, because we're not talking about just charging money just for the sake of charging money, then you can price it correctly. Okay. So hopefully this makes sense. And this is, for example, this is like what we're doing inside with in terms of like ascending people and like um getting people in, essentially moving them from like viewers, moving them from people that engage with the content to them investing in a high level mentorship. This is, for example, what I'm doing with Zahib, the guy with the agency. Like we're getting people from YouTube, from Instagram, then they might get into a hub of resources. We use School for this. And then essentially we just have conversations with them and we move them to a one-on-one mentorship. But again, this all works when you're actually clear on these things. When you're super clear, when people really understand everything that they're getting essentially in the offer. Okay? And obviously the more premium you go, the more you can do this. And guys, now that you got a glimpse into how you can build your premium brand, for the ones that you truly like align with the things that I've been yapping about in here, if you don't want to struggle with building everything by yourself, because it's a lot, I want to invite you to something really special that I'm preparing. So this is going to be a 6-week live group cohort in which we build literally your entire brand infrastructure and get you ready to make 20,000 plus per month. This is my goal for the clients that I currently work with. We're already hitting it easy, so that's awesome. Now, I want to do a quick rundown of the cohort. So week 1, we're going to start on, let me check the dates so I make sure it's going to be the 6th, I believe. Which is going to start like next week. So in a week from now. Okay, cool. So yeah, the 6th on Monday. Week 1 is going to be foundations of the Unlock Creator. So this is where we kind of dive way more in depth and build your premium identity. This was just like a sort of like as much as I could have packaged in this workshop. Origin story, vision, every single thing that you need to have before we dive into the brand. Week 2 is going to be a premium brand design session with building your category of one. We build your entire ICP. We build your offer infrastructure, your cult messaging structure, every single thing that you need to completely destroy and just crush your competition in the market. Week 3 is about unlocking your premium offer. So we built your premium offers page plus an offer document so you can actually start selling and bringing cash in and talk to clients, send the page and start to have conversations and get money in. This is something similar to like what I built in here with Zahib. a sort of like that sort of page that just makes people literally like send you money via DMs. Like that's it. Week 4 is all about leads engine and a delivery hub for your offer. A lot of people don't have that. So we're going to build your entire leads engine to constantly bring in leads. If you resonate more with short form videos, we focus on that. Again, if you resonate more with long form yapping sessions just like this, we can focus on YouTube. And then we build a hub like school in which you literally have every single resource and your entire program in there to deliver to your clients. Week 5 is going to be all about scaling and automation. So this is literally like the flow of it. I help you launch paid ads that fuel the engine and create email sequences, every single thing in the back that is like super nerdy, that nurture people, right? And that gets sales like in the back through the mechanism. And week 6 is all about business expansion and operations. This is like going to be super advanced. So I'm going to give you my entire formula for launches, for doing workshops just like this, and help you hire with SOPs essential roles to scale your business in an effortless way. Because a lot of people don't even, that's what I'm seeing with my clients now. It's like there's a huge need to be able to know, okay, how can I actually hire? Who do I need to hire? Do I need to hire a VA? Do I need to hire a content manager to get this thing running and just off the ground and just scaling? Okay. So I want this to be a super intimate thing and genuinely help you guys to get to like 20 to 30,000 and even more for some killers out there in a matter of weeks. So we're only going to do 5 spots. Okay. This is the first time I'm announcing it. We're going to do one group session per week with the entire group. So all of us. I'm also going to do one one-on-one onboarding workshop for everyone that joins. The investment for this is a one-time payment, 1,000. I'm going to drop you guys the link in the chat in here. For those of you who are genuinely resonating with what I'm saying, with my message, message me on WhatsApp. Let me just drop the link. And we can actually get this thing going. So again, we're going to start on the 6th of October.